Here. Nordstrom. And Lewis.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, up next item for bid is the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or subtractions from the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to general public comment, which is now a time for members of the public to discuss, express concerns to this council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except for placement on the agenda by a unanimous vote of the council members present. I currently have no speaker request forms for general public comment. Doesn't look like anybody else here wants to speak on that, so I'm going to move on to consent items 1 through 18. I'm going to open public comment on items 1 through 18. Jeff.
Chairman Lewis, did you get Barb
I did, and
Garcia's email?
yeah, but we'll get to
Okay.
that part after we close comment.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you had got that email.
Yep. So I would now recognize Ms. Stacy Sharp. Ma'am, if you would approach the podium and identify yourself. You have 3 minutes to, and we'll ask you questions afterwards in case you can't do it all in 3 minutes. If you have any, you stand for questions if you want to. When the green light starting, yellow light's 30-second warning, and red light, please wrap up your comments.
Oh my God, this is official.
We try to be.
Well, thank you. My name is Stacy Sharp, and I am here today wearing my hat as a board member for the Hope Center, which is a facility downtown that I'm sure you're all familiar with. But we have been chosen as the nonprofit of choice to profit from a potential event coming to town called Slide the City. And so I am here representing that, which is item number 12. And I think I'm here more to answer questions than anything, but we've had one meeting on it that I've been involved in, and then we received a copy of the letter. First of all, did the council receive the letter that was written from the Slide the City official?
We did, ma'am.
You did?
Yes.
From
Do you have-
Scott Ward?
Yes, we did.
Okay, perfect, because I got copies of those if we need them. So I guess to start, I would just kind of have a rebuttal for a couple of things that was written in the letter by the police chief. It said that there seems to be a lack of coordination, and that's one of the reasons for denial. And I don't think that's the case. I think that we have been very coordinated. Slide the City is a professional organization, and I think they've got all of their ducks in a row. We were told at the meeting that we had by Officer, and I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong titles, Officer Sergeant Sitz, that at the end of that meeting he said the first thing that I need to do is contact the Rushmore Plaza Holiday Inn and the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center, because that's the traffic flow that's going to be affected. And once we get their blessing to move forward, then we'll start moving it down the row. And so one of the things that we were kind of pointed out on this letter is that we didn't make those contacts. We would have gladly made those contacts. Officer Sitz said he was going to make them, and it's actually followed up with an email that he indeed was making those contacts. So I think that was just kind of a miscommunication. We didn't know that's something that we were supposed to be doing, but we would be glad to do it. The other thing that was highlighted was the amount of effort that would be the city staff commitment that was required, so I guess we can discuss that. I don't know if that is as entailed as what was perceived. We provided the city with a whole list of things that we need. Anytime the city or other donors can help us get those, it's just more money that goes into the profit that goes into the Hope Center. But if the city can't or does not want to provide those items, then we certainly have the avenue to provide them on our own. And so I guess I'm just hoping that this will be reconsidered and that it can be a great citywide event that can come to town. And I think that we have the support from CVB and other people that want to see it come to town.
Thank you, ma'am, and I'm sure you'll stand up. I'm sure there'll be some questions for you here when that item gets up for consideration. Sure. Thank you very much. I have no more speaker request forms for any of the items, numbers 1 through 18 on the consent calendar. Does anybody else wish to speak on those items? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. I'm going to go to the council lights to remove items 1 through 18. I need to remove item number 12 for Barb. Is that 18? Excuse me. Item number 18 for Barb Garcia. Anybody else want to remove anything else? Darla Drew.
Item 12.
Item number 12. So I have items 12 and 18. Anything else? Entertain a motion to approve the balance. Motion by Laurenti, second by Nordstrom to approve items 1 through 18 exclusive of 12 and 18. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now on to item number 12. Item number 12 is recommend denial of special event application for the Slide the City fundraiser to be held July 25th, 2015. Chair recognizes
That says I have the floor.
Steve Laurenti.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Chair. And I had some questions for, I had hoped that we'd have a representative here from the police force.
Does anybody know if, I don't see anyone at the moment.
Well, I have a few questions, and maybe one of the things we might want to consider is an approval with a stipulation that they do work out the logistics and the issues with the police force. I don't know why we don't have the police force here, especially since they've submitted a denial, and I think they knew, based on their letter, that they were going to be here to appeal the denial. So that's something I think for the committee to consider. We could stipulate an approval with them working out the further logistics that the police force had mentioned here on the letter. And I would just recommend that maybe we go that route without somebody here from the police force to give us some answers. Thank you.
Also, we could possibly send it to council without recommendation until we can get to Monday night with all the, either way. No current motion. Darla Drew, you have the floor.
Stacy, I have some questions for you.
You can just, okay. The police chief actually, I think, is on his way here, so.
Okay.
I'll do my best to answer.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, I come from a nonprofit background, so I do have lots of questions. First of all, what is the cost for people to attend this event?
You know, they told us the average, and that's yet to be finalized for Rapid City because they do base it on location and whatnot. But the average is, there's three options. There's $12 for one slide, $25 for three slides, or $50 for VIP pass, and the $50 is an all-day slide as much as you want, and the first hour and the last hour of the day is VIP holders only.
What hours? This runs 10 to 7 p.m.?
That's what they're thinking of as of now. I think all of that, they would be negotiated with.
What percentage of the profits are going to the Hope Center?
We get 15% of the ticket sales, and we get $50 for every volunteer that we bring them, and they need 50 to 65 volunteers. And it's the Hope Center's thought that we can provide all of those.
That's a heavy volunteer request, that's for sure. So let's see here. When you were dinged for lack of coordination, was there more information on that?
No.
Okay, well, we'll go into that with Chief Jegaris. And do they provide the insurance for this?
That has not been brought up to me, but I would have to say yes, and I would have to say that I wouldn't approve it if they didn't.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's something you really need to
Yeah, we'll
look
need to
into.
look at that.
And as a nonprofit, you know that they will use your name to raise money.
Yes.
And so I would just caution you to be very careful because these things can go awry. And then your good name is connected with
We've
something
done
like
quite
this.
a bit of research on this company. One of the red flags that came up for me, because I handle work with a lot of events, is we've had a lot of negative stuff with the color runs that have come and gone, and
Color runs, could you tell me what that is?
Well, there is a color run. I don't know the name of the parent company that was putting it on, but it happened for 2 or 3 years at the fairgrounds, and the nonprofit beneficiary for that was the YMCA, and that company is now out of business, and part of them in legal battle, and they're not legit. So knowing that background, we've done quite a bit of research on this and talked to the communities that they're secured in, Sioux Falls, Bismarck, and they come with a pretty good reputation, a very good reputation.
Can we go over again what the businesses are that'll be impacted and the ones we've already talked to?
Well, we haven't talked to any, although we are certainly willing to talk to all of them. The only ones that were brought up in the meeting was the Civic Center and the Holiday Inn. Since that, there was more businesses that were brought up in the letter, Senior Citizen Center, Boys Club, Journey Museum. So we're willing to go talk to all of them. I don't know, that was never brought up in the meeting. That was just brought up in the letter. I do know that the Civic Center has been talked to, and they are fine with it. They just let us know that the band shell is already occupied, and so any staging area that we need to have needs to be on the right-hand side of the street in that parking lot area, which is better for us anyway, because the plan is that the slide would be on the right side of Fifth Street and the left side be left open for access to the Holiday Inn and whatnot.
And where in this plan would your porta potties have to be?
That is yet to be determined if they have to be along the route or if they're just in the staging area down at the bottom of the slide.
Well, I would be concerned about the lack of access to the Boys Club and to the Middle Luzerne Center.
I do know that the Boys Club is not open on Saturday, however, their thrift store is, according to their website.
In the summertime?
I got that information strictly from the website, so I just kind of did a little pre-work, but like I said, I have not spoke to them yet. And one of the other reasons that we haven't reached out to these people is we haven't secured a date, and a date makes a big difference to a lot of people.
Right.
So we thought it was a little premature to go talk to all these people until we had a date set, and when we were finalizing a date is when all of this came about.
Well, I will close my questions for now, but it raises a big concern for us as closing down I think, a major artery in the city for this particular activity. So,
Is it any more than closing down downtown every Thursday night?
is it? I don't
I
think so.
don't know.
I don't know.
I'm
But we're
posing the
also
question.
putting 80,000 gallons of water down it as well and making it totally impassable. So, I mean, to me, it's a little bit of a different ask. So we'll
Okay.
have to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Steve Laurenti. I still do not have a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to send it to council without recommendation. Then if I could maintain the floor, please.
May I?
If I could.
Can I
Can I get a
please have
second?
Second. Second by Drew. Second, yeah. Motion by Laurenti, second by Drew. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Chief, thanks for being here. I just wanted to ask some questions. I read your letter. Based on the letter that you sent to the applicant, it was based purely on the fact that there would not be safe and orderly movement of contiguous traffic. Can you explain that to me? Are there other streets that we could use during this time period, much like we do with the downtown, or is there something unique about Fifth Street that isn't about St. Joe or Main Street? If you could talk about that a little bit.
Okay, the language that you just referenced is specific to the city ordinance regarding special event permitting, and that is one of the criteria that can be used as a point to deny the application. And do you mind if I just add a couple of comments regarding this?
Feel free.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that both on a personal and a professional basis, I am extremely supportive of the Hope Center. I know that they provide a needed resource for the most at-risk in our community. And so I commend Mrs. Sharp. I know that she is a volunteer board member and she is doing this not for any personal gain whatsoever, but the opposite of that. She's trying to bring something to the community that will help those most in need in our community. So I respect her greatly for that. I also serve on a couple of boards for nonprofits in the community, and I know that there is a challenge in fundraising and there is only so much to go around, and that there is a saturation of events such as 5Ks and or dinners that have a silent auction and those kinds of things. So I think that this is a great opportunity for this nonprofit to bring something new and different that could turn into an annual event for the city. My concern is, and I think somebody mentioned the lack of coordination that was referenced in my letter. That in no way is intended to be towards the Hope Center. It is towards the Mr. Ward from Slide the City. And to explain that, essentially he had contacted us only after we observed through social media that this event was being planned in our city. So I asked our special operations unit to look into this because I could tell that this could be significant as far as disruption to our community. So Sergeant Sitz did reach out to this organization and got more details, and then a site visit was arranged by Mr. Ward, and that's referenced in his letter that was sent this morning. That meeting was organized by Sergeant Sitz. So here we are, the police department, we're kind of gravitating to a role where we are putting in the coordination efforts on the front end for a for-profit event that is going to make a substantial contribution to a local nonprofit. But that made me uncomfortable that we're already going in that direction where we're doing the organizing. And I can tell you that the amount of resources from the city is going to be great. The issue that's referenced in the letter is notification of the Holiday Inn and or the Civic Center. And I also have heard third-party, but not direct information that the Civic Center is generally okay with the concept and that the Holiday Inn may or may not be, but I don't have confirmation that that's correct. I do believe that the Holiday Inn will be at or near full capacity, as this is in the peak of our tourist season, and it's about a week or so prior to the Sturgis Rally. I am aware that the band shell is rented out for a private event. I believe it's a company picnic of some sort. I believe that there may be a wedding planned at the Holiday Inn, but I don't know for sure. But again, that's not my responsibility to get all those details together. That is Mr. Ward's responsibility, and that's just the beginning of the concerns. And then if you go out to the North Rapid neighborhood that's going to be impacted, Fifth Street is a direct route to our hospital, so there will have to be a clear detour put up in advance, and there will be an expense for that. Public Works can either do that in-house, or they may need to contract out with Traffic Services Corporation. And the arrangements for other issues like payment for water and other services, I just don't have a high degree of confidence that somebody is taking care of all these details. And if we show up that weekend and barricade it, we're going to have a disaster on our hands. It needs a lot of pre-planning, a lot of public notice, and appropriate plans in place. So, like I said in my letter, if you feel a high degree of confidence, then I will be prepared to support this event. And if you lack confidence in the organization at this point, like I do, then I would appreciate you supporting the denial.
May I respond to just one thing?
Hold on, just one moment, please.
Okay.
If we have a question, ma'am, we'll ask that question. Thank you. Chief, I guess what I'm trying to think of is, to pull off this event, and I agree, I thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. That kind of opens it up a little more, sheds some more light on where we're at, and the fact that your office was proactive in contacting this group is, in my opinion, extremely good. I would like to see the event happen, however, not necessarily even in this location. And I don't know if your staff, if you have the ability to work with this group knowing that they want to put on this event, if there's a better location, one that has the type of slope that they're looking for, that will have less interruption of traffic. And I guess that's what I'm trying to think of, or if that's even possible for your office to do at this point. Can you?
We did make a couple of alternative recommendations. Both are going to have issues, but probably not to the extremity of these issues. One is 7th Street going towards the downtown area. But again, that's going to impact a residential neighborhood, and that's going to be complicated for that reason. But a more likely location would be Susan Drive between West Middle School and Canyon Lake Drive. However, I think that we would have to close the intersection of Susan and Canyon Lake Drive, so there would be a significant disruption of traffic. Agreements would need to be made with the school district and other local parking lot owners for parking purposes. And there may be other areas out there as well, and we would definitely be willing to help work through that. But I think the timeline here is really coming close for this large of an event.
Thank you, Chief. And I have a question for you, Ms. Sharp, if you can, please. Were you aware of these particular challenges for this particular event, coming to this meeting today? Sorry.
I think what's going on is everything that I have seen pre-posted is to be determined. So on their website and on their Facebook event page, they did indicate that Rapid City was a potential and to be determined. Quite honestly, that's how I came about them. I was doing business in Sioux Falls, and Sioux Falls is all abuzz because they're coming there. So I came back and thought, this is a great event. Why isn't Rapid City having it? Got online and saw the to be determined, thinking Rapid City might be a potential. So I reached out to them on behalf of the Hope Center, asking them if they ever incorporated a nonprofit, and it did, and that's how our relationship started. So everything that I have seen in the research I've done has never been anything posted as a definite, but that Rapid City was being considered.
One more question for
Okay.
you. And I appreciate it. I think you've answered my question on that. My other question to you is, are you aware of this location? Is this some preferred location, or was this just, is there, as you're saying, to be determined type thing, they're not really locked in? Is there a reason why they're choosing this location?
As in Rapid City or
No,
the
these
street?
particular the street area,
Well,
besides the slope.
To clarify what the chief said, I was actually in that meeting, and those alternative locations were actually brought to the table by Slide the City. He did his research and brought in 3 or 4 locations that were potential. I do believe that because his second option was indeed 7th Street, and then the committee suggested Susan Drive. It was the people around the table, and I'm sorry I don't know the names in the departments, but that said 5th Street is by far the best because of the water flow and the drainage. So it was a consensus among the city officials that were in that room that 5th Street is the one that we should pursue.
Well, I honestly think, coming to this next council meeting, I would not support it as presented, and I appreciate both of your comments, but I would say that maybe what needs to happen here, Ms. Sharp, is that we need to have all the representatives from the Slide City, Mr. Ward, involved, and they need to do all of these logistics and planning before they get, I think the chief has voiced some important things here, and we need to get the people with Slide City to work those things out so that the police are comfortable, and probably fire as well. They're looking at that as well. They need to be very comfortable for me to be comfortable. So
Yeah, and they
that
were
needs
all
to be
in,
worked out.
and they were all in that meeting.
Okay.
I think everybody was represented.
So right now you're looking at what, July 25th? If it needs to be sometime later in August because there are logistics issues that need to be ironed out with the police and the fire, I will not support it until our fire and police are comfortable with the plan. So I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair will recognize Ron Weifenbach. You already spoke once.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I guess I would ask this question to Sue, and the fact would be, you said that Sioux Falls was having this same event?
Yes, Sioux
Do you know-
Falls and Bismarck.
Do you know when Sioux Falls is going to have the event?
Not without looking at the website, I don't, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, obviously they've been through some of the same questions that our chief has that haven't been answered, or
And I do believe that this is the first year, so everybody's in their inaugural year. It's kind of the first time it's come to the Midwest area. And back to what Mr. Laurenti was saying, part of coming to a community of this size is getting people in rotation, kind of like booking a concert. But so the original date proposed was during the Central States Fair, and I kind of had to recuse myself because that's a very good client of mine. And so I said, I just need to speak up, but you need to know the reasons why. I can't support this during the middle of the fair. That's not good. And so based on a small discussion then is when the date was moved. But I do think it has to do with routing, so they wouldn't just come any specific date. It has to fit within their routing.
the other question I had, is there going to be alcohol consumption?
Actually, to my surprise, the city is the one that said that we had that option if we wanted to, but we'd have to, put the permit in and do the secured area and stuff. I can tell you from the Hope Center, point of view, that's not something that we like to condone, because that's a big issue with why we exist.
Yeah. And
So
I appreciate that.
alcohol would not be something that
Okay.
we are
I
wanting.
appreciate that, because I couldn't support it in any way, shape, or form if that was going to be part of it.
No. Needs to be a family event.
Right. And I think that this family event, I think that from what my colleagues have said up here is that there still seems to be some kind of disconnect with the chief. I'm not going to sign off on anything until those two guys over there are comfortable with the plan. If
I
they're
respect
comfortable
that.
with the plan, and if it's just some other small logistics that we can overcome, I could support it. So,
And I do want to say, and I appreciate you hearing it. Sergeant Sitz was so helpful. He just took this upon himself. We never, if somebody would have said, this is the people that you need to go get permission from, or use on review permit or something, we'd have done it. I mean, I even have an email here where he says that I will put a parking and traffic plan together and see if the Holiday Inn will sign off on it. So he took it upon himself to coordinate this. If it would have been dictated that that was all our responsibility, we would have gladly done it.
I understand, and I could see that from reading the differences in the letters and understanding chief's
Yeah.
correspondence. So maybe there's an opportunity between now and Monday, which I know is a huge time constraint, but to maybe work out some of those things with Chief and Sergeant Sitz, and they can maybe you can come to a better understanding of.
Absolutely.
Because it's I don't think it's unsurmountable, but it is a big task. I understand that, and we don't want to just throw a monkey wrench in and say that it can't happen. But I understand at this point why our chief denied it. I mean, if I was him, I would do the same, not understanding all the logistics of the plan and what's really going to go on and all that. So if there's a way that maybe that coordination can happen again between now and Monday night, we're going to move this to the council without recommendation until Monday.
Okay.
I know that's not a lot of time, but I mean, that's the best we can do today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair will recognize Darla Drew.
Yeah, you're right, sorry. Just a quick question, Stacy, and I do support your cause, and the Hope Center is a great thing. What are your funding sources for the Hope Center?
Well, right now we do a lot of grants. The Vukovich Foundation is a huge supporter of us, and your basic fundraising. We do 3 major donation requests a year: email, direct mail. We did our first traditional serve some food, do a silent auction deal. That I begged them not to do, but we did profit the first year.
Oh, okay.
About $8,000. We did it at the Journey Museum, and that took place about 6 weeks ago, probably. So we're a struggling organization. We're just getting off the ground. Our biggest thing, Darla, is we just received our 501c3. Oh. We were created by the Methodist Church, and we were a division of the church, and there were so many grants and fundings that we can't do. So we just received our own 501c3. It was about an 18-month process, but we've got that about 6 or 7 months ago, so that's opened the doors to a lot.
What's your annual operating budget?
About $150,000.
So this would help considerably, and I'm kind of on board with the other guys if we can't get it past fire and the police.
Yeah.
Those are the major obstacles going on. But I think
And we don't want to do it without their blessing either. I mean, it's going to take a group effort to get it done.
I know, but I wouldn't back off on this entirely. I might just look at it for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Carl Jeggers, Police Department.
I just wanted to point out that as part of our mission statement, we are committed to community enhancement. So anything that brings the community together in a positive fashion is something that we're supportive of, and that is why we had such a exceptional response from Sergeant Sitz, being willing to do all of these things on the front end. But I do want to make it very clear that we did put the ball back into Mr. Ward's court to contact the Holiday Inn and to contact the Civic Center, and we did that on May 14th, and to my knowledge, he has not followed up on that. So the communication issue has nothing to do, again, with Mrs. Sharp or the Hope Center.
Okay, the motion is to send to council without recommendation. I'd just like to make the point once again that we're all speaking in saying that the fire department and the police department aren't on board. That's kind of their job is public safety, so it's certainly not their fault. And I don't want anybody thinking that's, they're the no fun club, because I'm sure they get that a lot. But they've been very supportive of the community around here, and I think they do a lot of good work with that sort of nonprofits. So anyway, moving on, move the council without recommendation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Item
you.
number 18. Thank you, ma'am. Item number 18 is the approve and authorize the mayor or finance officer to sign the fiscal year 2014 SF-424 and its certifications. I would entertain a motion to continue this item to the June 10th Legal and Finance Committee as per recommendation of Barb Garcia. Motion by Nordstrom, second by Laurenti. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Open public comment for items number 19. There is no current speaker request for item number 19. Close public comment for that item. Item number 19 is the second reading of ordinance and recommendation of ordinance 6009 to adopt the 2012 International Residential Code by amending Chapter 15.13 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Motion approved by Laurenti, second by Drew. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Laurenti? Nordstrom, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.